There's still a few days left for Steam Next Fest where indie developers can share what they have been working on, and I had time to check out 4 that piqued my curiosity. In the order they were played, these were Alterium Shift, Cross Tales, Reverse Collapse Codename Bakery, and Eternights. Starting with Alterium Shift, this is a traditional JRPG inspired by the likes of Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI. It begins with a choice of 3 characters, Sage, Pyra and Atlas, who fall into your standard class roles, Mage, Fighter and Archer. Once you choose your character, you're free to wander off wherever you want, and that's one thing I will praise the game for immediately. You don't have to follow the story straight away if you don't want to. You can go outside, do some side content, find treasure and level yourself up, though the later areas are barred off till you advance the narrative, understandably so. Combat is a typical turn-based affair with enemy sprites shown on the map, and very simple in that you have standard attacks, a guard evade mechanic and skills, but considering my party size never expanded beyond 2 members for my time of the demo, I never got to see its full potential. I would think that it only deepens as each character appears to have unique mechanics specific to each of them, and this also extends to the overmap where Atlas for example can shoot long distance targets to open up paths, and I imagine each other member has their own ability they bring to the table too. The art style in the game is pretty good, though I would prefer the camera to be a bit farther out than what it is. I couldn't see an option to zoom out though. From that alone, it sounds promising, but at the moment that's all I can really say about it. Alterium Shift is promising. Initially, the only real guidance you get at points is through markers on the map, which I have to get out of the way now. I hate maps like this. Outside of letting me know what zone I'm in, it doesn't say where I am in said zone, nor does it show me any dead ends I might bump into. It reminded me of Arafel's map. Great game, but its map was atrocious. This isn't as bad, but it's not great either. A simple isometric style which shows the varying pathways with the transition points is all I need, nothing more than that. More pertinently though, and granted it is a demo so I will cut it slack, but there were a large amount of bugs even in such a short time. My worry is that if there are a bunch of issues in the first say hour and a half that I played, how many more exist further in the game? For instance, you can access shop menus but you can't navigate them. The same holds true for when the demo supposedly ended. It said that my journey was over but to then choose another character. Now the menu that popped up had a tab for the other characters, suggesting that I could access them via this menu, but I couldn't navigate it with either controller or keyboard. And as a result, I'm not sure if it's an intended mechanic of the game where maybe you're blocked off in certain routes and can only circumvent them by playing through the others, which would be cool, I admit, or it's just basically saying demo's over, try the others. The most notable bug though came in this scene here. I did 2 playthroughs because I wanted to see if I was able to beat this early game boss. The first time around, it was fine. This is how the scene is meant to play out. However, when I revisited in the second run, the scene went completely off the rails. Sprites went in the wrong areas, dialogue repeated, and then it just tripped over itself till it was able to get back on track, and I didn't do anything differently, I was just advancing the dialogue. At the moment, there's still plenty of work to do on this game, and like I say, it's a demo, I don't expect it to be perfect. All I can hope though is that the developers are aware of them and sort them out for the full release. Next up is Cross Tales, an SRPG that offers a dual protagonist feature, though you're only able to access one of them for this demo. The initial story premise is very simple. 2 warring kingdoms, a sort of East versus West archetype, and they basically still hate each other years later, though fighting has dulled down to the odd skirmish here and there. Each of our protagonists represents one of these sides, and of course they cross paths with each other, hence the name Cross Tales. But its seeming predictability, because I can already see where this story is going to go, meant that Cross Tales didn't impress me at all, and that's mostly down to its execution, even early on. The dialogue feels very blunt and uninspired, there's no voice acting, characters are as tropey as they get, which by itself isn't bad, but it's so on the nose it becomes off-putting. In this case, the protagonist of this route, Shaima, is a hot-headed tomboy princess. She's extremely brash and loud from the offset, and I can already see how her arc will develop from a mile away. Talking about developments, they make no sense. For instance, there are characters calling for calm and then revenge 2 seconds later. But most importantly, it's just not that gripping. Warring Kingdoms has been used many times before as a premise, and you have to do a lot to stand out from the crowd, and this one just goes through the motions when it should be grabbing your attention. What Cross Tales does have in its favour though is its gameplay. There was a surprising level of depth. Each unit comes with their own level, equipment split into 5 slots, a main and subclass, and a skill tree for each. There are also advanced classes as the units get to higher levels, so there's certainly solid progression. Battles are fine as well, if not a little clunky. Maps have multiple levels, there are terrain advantages dependent on the weather, you can enact strategies for your units that result in flat stat differences, and attacking from the high ground or from the side or back will lead to a more potent assault. There's a wide array of unit types that excel in both close and long range encounters, with the option of recruiting more, a selection of buffs and debuffs specific to each class, and plenty to find on the maps themselves. The real worry I have with Crosstales though is the seeming difficulty curve. Every main objective gives you a recommended level to tackle it, and by the end of the demo I was 2 levels behind where I was recommended to be, and I'm pretty certain there was no option to replay any missions to grind it out. It's possible this could be added in for the full release, but I hope there isn't a mismatch when it comes to progression through the story, because that's just artificial difficulty in my eyes. I won't know though, because I won't be buying this. I wasn't getting any hooks from the story, the characters weren't great, and the gameplay isn't enough to keep me engaged. Up next is Reverse Collapse Codename Bakery, a more futuristic turn-based tactical game from Sunborn and part of the Girls Frontline universe, which acts as a prequel to this game. I had some exposure to the Girls Frontline series before, but only through an anime adaptation which wasn't great, though I'll concede that the opening was fire. But back to the game. It's set during the First Antarctic War between the URNC and Antarctic Union, and our main protagonist, Mendo, is on a mission to retrieve Bakery, which is a code name for the objective. Soon after they're attacked, Mendo meets up with a mysterious girl and they thus join forces. Now on the negative side, there is no voice acting here at all, though the actual text-based translation seems solid throughout. There's actually some nuance to its dialogue, unlike Crosstales. It does also utilise that visual novel style of storytelling for the most part, but that's never been an issue for me if the writing is decent. The real highlight of Codename Bakery though is its gameplay. Each character has a set number of action points they can use when their turn comes around. These are expended for movement, attacking and using items, but it's on the player to figure out how they want to use them. For example, you can just stand your ground and attack multiple times, or maybe use that time to create some items like tripwires or radars that reveal the positions of enemies in heavy blizzards that reduce your view. Terrain is used very well. Houses and bunkers will provide buffs, higher vantage points allow snipers to shoot longer distances, and woods obscure you from view if you're using stealth. Each member also has a skill tree linked to them that yields either active or passive skills that you can use in the field, and there's added challenge in the various bonus objectives that add further to your reward come the end of the mission. It's actually a really good strategic system with plenty of options given to the player at any given point, and it can only get deeper the further the game progresses. I was pleasantly surprised with it. I didn't expect I would enjoy it as much as I did, and I'll probably buy this one when it fully releases. And last of all is Eternights, an action RPG come dating sim hybrid that I made clear I was looking forward to this year, and I was putting so much more weight on it following the lukewarm reception of Loop 8. So, did it deliver? Well, put it this way. The only negative I could think of for Eternights is that I wanted to play more. The demo was too damn short. It was less than an hour long, but it flew by even quicker because I was loving what I got to experience. Eternights begins with your self-insert protag hanging out with his friend as they search for love via a dating app, and lo and behold, they fail. That's relatable. We also get information on the so-called Eternights wonder drug that supposedly slows aging. Spoilers, it's the bad thing. Virtually overnight, the whole world goes to hell, but this polarity of mood, the balance of light-hearted versus serious, is one thing about Eternights that I was so hooked on. Many times it's humorous, the choices you can make for dialogue were witty and fun, and they were getting the odd chuckle out of me, but then it's not afraid to flip the switch in a nanosecond to a more eerie tone. I was at the edge of my seat. It reminded me a lot of one of my favourite long-running anime in Gintama, which for the most part is a comedy, but in its story arcs it transforms into some of the most profound and deep narratives you'll see in any series, and I feel Eternights has a similar balance there. The atmosphere was just on point in these early stages, and even though its art direction isn't the most groundbreaking, it just somehow works. By itself, it's not going to catch a second glance, but combine it with the atmosphere, the lighting, the claustrophobic environments, and you get something that is more than the sum of its parts. I could definitely see some people saying it's too anime and be put off by that, but I'm all on board. Talking about anime, we're entrusted with the safety of the world by the Architect, who is pretty much your isekai goddess character you see in the likes of Konosuba, Cautious Hero, or Re:Zero. She's weirdly intimidating but also comforting at the same time, and again I was completely hooked on it. The writing was actually really good, it allowed the story to flow well while also getting a multitude of points across in a short space of time. And last of all, it's combat. It's very easy, but more importantly, it feels so good to play. And this is the thing, when I play an action RPG, I'm not asking for a deep combat system, I'm not asking for combo inputs that rival a fighting game to pull off. All I want are tight controls, visual payoff, and a fast pace. And Eternights delivers on that. You have one attack button, you hit the end of your chain and you do a combo ender. You also have a dodge and the so-called elemental fist tied to a gauge at the top left of the screen. You fill it up via dodging and attacking enemies and unleash this for heavy damage. And that's it so far. Like, sure, there might be more added on, but the bones of its combat are near on perfect. They hit the nail on the head of what an enjoyable action RPG is all about and smashed it into the board for good measure. As soon as I finished it, I had no doubt that this game would be for me. I was very impressed, loved every second of it, and it will be a day one purchase for me. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe for more JRPG content and consider joining my Patreon if you're interested. Peace.